I've only ever heard amazing things about the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, so my expectations are pretty high, and I am hoping it does not disappoint me. Well, I finally watched it, and all I've gotta say is, god damn. So last time we talked, I was reviewing the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, a pretty popular anime from the mid to late 2000s, and I mentioned that I would be watching the movie continuation, The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, after my initial review of the anime. And well, I stuck to my word, I watched it, and just wow. Now, I had heard nothing but amazing things about this film for a long time, since before I had even started watching Haruhi. It was the part in the series that I heard of the most, and so I was definitely looking forward to it. At the same time, I had a bit of caution in my mind when getting excited to watch the film, because while I did enjoy the anime, I had issues with it that made me a little concerned with how the anime would treat things in the film. For one, I thought one thing the anime handled kinda sloppily was its pacing. I mean, just look at the Endless 8, and this film was nearly 3 hours long, so that had me just a little bit worried. I also just couldn't find myself getting too invested in a story that wasn't significantly Haruhi focused in the show. And while I didn't know too much of what was gonna go down in this film, the fact that it is titled The Disappearance of Haruhi meant I was likely not going to spend as much time with her as I would have in other story arcs, which did end up being the case, and yet neither of these flaws are present within this film. Not only is the story just fucking incredible, but the long runtime is entirely justified and utilizes every minute to the fullest. I really did not feel like I was watching a 160-minute film. It went by extremely fast. The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya is definitely one of my favorite canon arc anime films I've seen because of these reasons. It's able to make me appreciate things about the series that I never really looked too far into beforehand. For one, the writing is insanely clever and smart. It does complicate itself quite a lot with the whole paradoxical time travel and timeline shenanigans, but it handles it very well and makes it easy to understand despite how convoluted the whole situation actually is. It doesn't treat you like an idiot by giving you all of the answers right away, but it also doesn't keep you in the dark too much. If I had to compare it to the rest of the story, I'd say this is easily where its writing is at its best. Just overall incredibly done and well thought out. The first half of the film handles the mystery with a whole lot of intensity, and the tension is high because of Kyon's impulsive and suspenseful behavior. He acts reckless and manic, something we never really see him doing. Not thinking much into his actions and losing all sense of rationality now that he, the rational straight man normal guy, is the only one that can actively do something about this whole situation after relying on the likes of Koizumi, Nagato, and Mikuru to give him the walkthroughs to every issue he needs to handle for so long up until now. He's typically the one to overthink the situations, but now he's in one where he doesn't even know what to think, and has the most limited resources possible to find a lead. This arc really pushes him to the edge, and I like that. Of course, he's always been able to find the solutions on his own, but he never was able to do it without any help. And the first half of Disappearance showcases his isolation, confusion, and recklessness without the brigade to lift him up. I think the interpersonal conflict as well as the central plot conflict do Kyon favors that the anime beforehand really never did for him. I was never in love with his character in the original anime, but this film made me like and respect him a lot more. I especially think his apostasy scene with himself near the film's climax was especially beautiful, where we finally see him openly admit that his time with the brigade, with Haruhi, was the most fun he's ever had in his life, despite his constant negative Nancy, cynical attitude. After all, it's partially just for show, and we finally get to see that mask come off now that he realizes just how much of his real life he took for granted, how much he took those abnormalities he once rejected for granted. The once cynical boy who never thought very much into anything, never really had many deep connections with people, and was so content with the mundane nature of the world, had since been flipped upside down thanks to the influence of Haruhi and the brigade. There was something he said to himself in that classroom scene that I especially loved. Of course it was fun. Don't ask something so obvious. And I think that might just be the best quote from the entire series. That whole scene really made me come around to his character, and while I still have some of the same problems with him as before, I do like him a lot more than I used to. And let's just talk about Nagato, man. I got exactly what I had been wanting from the anime with this movie here when it comes to her character. I thought that in the original 2 seasons, her character was lacking a little something to make me fully connect with her, even though I had already liked her a lot simply because I found her a lot of fun. But this film just adds a whole new layer of substance to her character that makes me appreciate her so much more and elevates her to being maybe my favorite character in the whole show. And really just one of my favorite characters in anime. The last hour or so of the film is my favorite in its runtime because of this, as it really gets into all of the Nagato drama and character development. You saw a lot of interesting twists with her character beforehand, but it isn't until you reach that point where Kyon starts getting all of his answers that you really get to dive into her psyche. An alienated girl who's lived her life as basically a taskmaster with no other purpose but to save the brigade's ass and keep Haruhi at bay, slowly coming out of her shell to feel even the slightest ounce of emotion, just to treat such things as a simple error because they're so jarred by it. It puts so many things into a new perspective for her character and adds many new layers. Kyon's monologue about her and their meeting on the roof are some of the best moments because of this. That rooftop scene might just be the best in the entire Haruhi series. It perfectly concludes and ties together the amazing arcs that these two characters had gone through throughout this movie's runtime. And while things go back to normal, their eyes are opened up just a little bit more. Even if there is still much more to be done, that entire sequence, from the narrative surrounding it, the visual storytelling through the falling snow, the cosmic style winter lighting, the cool blue character lighting, Nagato being wrapped in Kyon's coat, and the blurry backgrounds of the lit up city surrounding them, is all just so beautiful. I was floored by it. I can't even begin to explain the beauty of that scene, from its ambience to its poetics. It's just amazing. For a Haruhi Suzumiya movie, this is the first time Haruhi herself is really an outsider to the story. I mean, pretty much everyone besides Kyon, Nagato, and Mikuru to some extent is heavily sidelined, but I do think it works here. After all, we know more than enough about Haruhi, but not enough about her effect on the cast, and keeping her at a distance for a lot of this film until we reach our conclusion does a great job of showing how she's impacted everyone's lives for the better and for the more complicated. It also introduces a lot of very interesting alternate circumstances, like the possibility of Nagato falling for Kyon or the other way around, or Koizumi falling for Haruhi in the other world. It's all very intriguing to think about just how things could be with a small given change. With that, this movie does give you a lot to think about, especially for a series that isn't really all that thought-provoking. It reminds you that time isn't slowing down, and youth is something to be honored and celebrated, because the older you get, the faster time will pass you. And if you don't cherish that time of youth you have now, you're never going to get another chance to, because it'll be gone faster than it arrived. So, cherish those moments you spend with those people. And if you see others doing that cherishing, maybe take it as an example for yourself and cherish it with them. We only have one chance to embrace our youth in a very short window of time. You will never get that time back, and when it's gone, it'll only feel like a distant memory. So try making those memories just a bit more memorable, because you never know when it might be too late. This is a film that elevates the source material it stems from, which is why it's one of the best anime continuation films that I have seen. It surprisingly lived up to and even surpassed pretty much all of my expectations for it, and I couldn't be more happy about it. I didn't know what to expect narratively, but I got a whole lot from it. From the writing, to the beautiful fluid movement and lighting animations from the team at Kyoto, to the high tension of the first half and somber cosmic revelations of its second half, The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya is a spectacular film that makes me appreciate a series I already enjoyed at least 10 times more. Let's hope this isn't the last we see of these characters. I know it's been like 15 years since the film came out, but let's still try to be hopeful. Alright, there is still a lot more Haruhi Suzumiya necessary for this world. But that is going to do it for this review and this video. If you enjoyed it, of course, leave a like down below, comment down below your favorite Haruhi character, maybe comment down below an anime you'd like to see me cover in the future, and of course, most of all, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, or if you're new to the channel, and hit the bell notification button while you're at it too. Let's try and hit 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I thank you all for watching this video once again, and as always, I'll see you all next time. Have a wonderful wonderful, wonderful day.